Hey there, hope you've been doing well, and today we're going to be talking about the Dobyns 735 glass CB cranking rod. This is my favorite rod to use for a rattle trap. So right here we got that hammer trap. This is a 5/8 ounce, but let's go into a little bit of detail about this rod. It's a 7-foot 3-inch rod. It's a 5 power versus the 6, which if you've watched my previous video, that's the rod I like to use for throwing a chatterbait. But this guy here, very good for chatterbaits as well. But the trap, that's where it really shines. I like that because you can throw it with the treble hooks. It's a little bit softer, which we'll get up and look at here in a little bit. But it does a really good job for throwing traps. If I'm throwing a smaller chatterbait, so say if I'm throwing a 1/4 or a 3/8 ounce, I'll throw it on the 735 as well. Or if I'm throwing a spinner bait, I really actually prefer the 735 over the 736 for throwing a spinner bait. And then if I'm throwing some crankbaits, like I'll throw big square bills on this. If you're throwing something at 2.5 and up range, something like that does very, very good on this. I'll throw 5XD even on this sometimes. It's a little bit soft for that, but it does a good job. You can really launch it, get it fired way, way out there. So that's a big plus. Some little bit more about this rod. You can see this one. This is one I've had since college. It's been in my hands forever. You can see the cork, it's held up. I probably literally have had this since, I bet 2010-ish. It was one of the, maybe even 2012, somewhere in there. But you can see the cork, it did a good job. It's held up. It's definitely got wear and tear, but I've caught hundreds of fish on this thing. That's the new cork, if you wanted to compare it. They're both very good. Like this stuff here, it's the best cork out there on any of the rods, and I really like the full handle. I believe this one comes in a split grip as well, but I like the full handle just personally. It's just, I think it balances out a little bit better. When you get a hold of it, you don't have to grab it just on the end where that cork is. You can get it a little more in the middle or whatever. So why do I like using the glass rod? That's a little bit because it gives it that more of a moderate action where it starts to load up. Really lets you get that hooks in those fish before they really, you don't want to rip it out basically out of their mouth. So when you're using treble hooks like this, it lets them get it a little bit deeper, set that hook. It's got plenty of backbone because it is still a medium heavy action. So it's got plenty of backbone. When I stand up, I'll show you all that stuff. It's a fast action, so it's got a lot of tip, which lets you make those real accurate casts. And it's rated for a 1/4 ounce all the way up to 1 ounce. So if you're wondering what rating it was, 10 pound to 20 pound line is what they recommend. This one here with my trap, I got 17 on it. I'm just pairing this up. If you're curious, this is a Shimano. I don't work with them or anything, but it's a good all-around reel. Does a good job. 7/4 to 1 gear ratio, and you can see here. You look at all those guides, like they've all held up over the years. They haven't split or anything like that. So it's just the Dobyns quality that you're getting. It's some of the best out there. And let's now stand up and I'll show you a little bit more. All right, so those important parts that we were talking about in the rod here. So this is a 735. You can see there, it's got more of a parabolic bend to it compared to the 736, which I can pick that up and show you the comparison if you're interested in seeing it. So what that is good for is those treble hooks that we were talking about before. So that's why I really enjoy throwing this on a rattle trap. So you throw it out there and say you're fishing in an area that's got a bunch of grass in it, you'll get it out there, sink it down, get into that grass, and then as you're fishing it, start reeling it, hit that grass, give it that real snap. And when you do that, it loads up right through here and gives you that backbone to pull that bait right out of the grass. So that's good because then when you get that clean rip, you get that reaction strike out of those fish, which is a good reason to be throwing a rattle trap in general. But you can see there, it just does exactly what you want. It's got that fast action tip and medium heavy all the way. Good rod. This is my favorite for throwing a rattle trap, like I said, and I'll throw some of those other spinner bait on it at times, and I'll throw some bigger square bills and that sort of stuff. So make sure you check out the Dobyns 735 CB glass rod.